Welcome to the Drapery. Today, I want to go over an edit for Mono Blue Control version 3.0 on what I would do if I were to play it in another tournament, and then I'm going to go over a little replay analysis of a match played by Dan, aka FanOfHistory from Magic Gathering Strat. Basically because there's a lot to learn and a lot to hopefully teach people about the deck, since nobody seems to know what's up with this deck. So I feel like I got to do better job teaching. Alright, so first off, the changes that I would make. I thought about going up to the third Anticipate and cutting an island, but I really just think hitting land drops is more important. And a lot of against the aggro decks, you just don't have time to anticipate. Two of has been great in the deck. Trying to get the third in is just kind of hard. So I'm not worried about that right now. Jeskai Sages are very great. I'll keep them in. Negate, I'm upping to a 3 of. It's relevant against almost every matchup, and especially against the control decks, but it even stops removal spells and protection spells in the aggro decks like mono green and mono red, and it's especially good at being able to counter things like Triplicate Spirits and Raise the Alarm and Impact Tremors and stuff. So overperforming has been negate, so take one of the sideboard slots, put it in the main. Actually decided to cut the Palace Familiar for Omen Speaker, mainly because of so many Dragon Fodders and Raise the Alarms that I keep seeing. I figure having the 3 toughness might be a little helpful, even though it doesn't draw the card. I think it's not quite as good as Jeskai Sage, but probably better than Palace Familiar, because the flying just has never been super relevant. Keeping the 1 Voyage's End and cutting a Nullify. Again, unless the Gray Merchant decks or mono green decks become supremely popular, the card hasn't been that great. The Is It decks, the token decks, and whatnot, just kind of ignore it. And it's fine to just shave off 1. Divination, 4 of, keep it. They were arguing a lot in the episode 14 Magic Gathering Strat podcast about going up to 4 Anticipates and cutting down 2 Divinations. That's just incredibly insane in this type of deck. You're trying to 1-for-1 your opponent numerous times and then just draw more cards than them. We have a high lane count in 24, and a lot of other decks run anywhere from 18 to 22, 23, so we need to be able to plow through our lands, which Anticipate can do, but those lands are actually useful for casting a lot of our spells too, so I would never cut below 4. Added the second Nimbus Naiad, again to take away tension. I felt like in the last tournament I knew I only had 1, and a lot of times I didn't play it out because I really wanted to save it to put on to a Hexproof creature onto a Jeskai Sage so that I could act like a true win con and really beat down over the air. So don't really want that tension. So the second one is a welcome addition, just which is in the original list, and I did like it. And it can be a 3-mana 2/2 blocker in a pinch against like Borderland Marauder, which is fine too. Actually decided to add a second Whisk Away just to be Griptide number 6. I think just putting cards top on library is just one of the ways that I felt like I couldn't lose and just got super ahead of my opponents. Negates things like Dragon Mantle as well. And I took out the cancel for this slot. Don't think I need the cancel really. I have 6 2-mana counters, and the 3-mana counter is usually just not the best in the opening hand. It's a fine top deck late game, but it just doesn't seem necessary. I feel like Whisk Away will serve a better role. 4 Griptides have been all-stars. Cut 1 Whirlwind Adept. It's not the best defensive creature, but again, it's supposed to be our win con. Just suit it up with Nimbus Naiad and beat them down. And in the 6 rep slot, actually decided to cut the 3rd Rise of Eagles again, which I think is good. I wouldn't fault anybody for playing the 3rd Rise of Eagles or even a 4th, but just want to try this Benthic Giant out. just to again have a diversified mix of 3 different cards, 6 different total cards here as ways to effectively win the game. But realized a lot of the games that I won was just by attacking with Jeskai Sage and Squid tokens, and now I'll be able to attack with Omen Speaker as well. So it's like that, Nimbus Naiad, I don't really need any of these 6 cards to win. If I'm able to counter and deal with all of their threats, play a bunch of 0-4s and 1-3s, usually the mono red decks just scoop. You don't need to kill them, you just need to stop them from killing you, and then you treasure cruise once and then they realize, oh, they can't win the game. As long as your life total is high enough, which it usually is, up to 28 max with Radiant Fountains. And sideboard changes here. I love the Force Theses Faithful. Been pretty fantastic card at slowing people down from killing us. Yeah, they seem to not understand that this card just is a 1-drop. It slows them down mainly by letting us empty our hand faster, which gets us to cruising faster, makes them spend pump spells that would be dealing damage to our face just to kill this 0-4 if their guy has 2 or 3 power. It's the amount of life that it saves and the amount of tempo that it gains for being 1 mana lets us do multiple things in a turn. That's what it's there for. It's not that it's an 0-4 by itself. Like 1 mana 0-4 by itself would be no good. But this is a 1 mana 0-4 or a 1 mana unsummon or a 1 mana 0-4 plus unsummon, which is just an unreal rate. We get to go up to 4 Disdainful Stroke since we moved one of the negates to the main. Put the 4th Nullify on the board again in case we want it for the Grey Merchant style decks. Keep the 4 Coral Barrier, and got rid of both Voyage's Ends in the sideboard again with the 2nd Whisk Away added in. I don't think we need another Voyage's End. Plus we already have the 4 Sidisi's Faithfuls to unlock or reset heroic creatures or whatever. But I do like this card as like Coral Barrier number 5, Guardians of Meletis. It can block Krenko's Enforcer, which is a Intimidate creature that comes up every now and then in mono red decks, which is pretty good. You can put Nimbus Naiad on it and make it a 2/8 blocker and effectively be able to block anything in the air. And yeah, I think this card is fine against just aggressive decks and just helps shore up those matchups even more. So the next thing that I realized is that I need a strategy guide for sideboarding for these guys, because the main reason why we had problems in this match that we're about to watch is really poor sideboarding. So I'm going to go straight to that match now, since they're not playing this updated version. They're playing version 2.0. So let's go check that out right here. So I'm going to have his commentary muted, and I'm just going to have my own commentary on top of it. Again, pretty good. 124 views. They have 27 comments, so a lot of people watching and getting exposure to this deck. So he's basically playing my same list from the week before. So let's see. He's playing against Shifting Shadows. Alright, let's just pause here. This is a 7-card hand against an unknown opponent. Kind of expensive. Cruise and Adept. Not the best in the opener here, but we do have Nullify turn 2. Again, 24 lands, you're probably going to hit a land in the first 2 or 3 draw steps for this divination, and then from there, Griptide. So it has a clear plan. This is a clear keep. So pretty sure he keeps it after fixing his mic. He does, playing against Boros Guildgate, essentially. Windscarred Crag. Draw for the turn is Radiant Fountain, which is pretty much the perfect draw step since we already have double blue. So against, sweet, he hasn't played a single spell yet. I would definitely play Island. Could raise the alarm meta turn here, but you're being able to counter a creature like Mario Horde Chief, something like that, on the next turn. Ooh, Island, alright, so he's more likely this Jeskai Tokens deck, which our Remedia one has played before, has the Retraction Helix combo in it. But you could just, play Rise of Eagles or Treasure Cruise or whatnot. Step back S, okay. It's a rare creature target for Nullify, so getting value off that is really good. Here's an interesting choice, which land to play, because if we play Radiant Fountain, we get to Divination, hoping to hit another untapped land so that we can maybe play Griptide, mainly for the fact of just, it's going to be awful game one against this token deck, but it's just another card to cast on curve and to put a card in our graveyard for Treasure Cruise. Or we could play Evolving Wilds, do essentially nothing this turn, but be guaranteed Griptide mana next turn. That play is significantly worse because Griptide is not shown to be good in this matchup, so I would be playing Radiant Fountain and Divinating, which he does. So he draws Negate Divination. Not the best. We're really hoping for an untapped land. So now we're giving our opponent a little opportunity to tap out for something. Finds a mountain. Attacks for 2, then plays main phase Anticipate. Or I guess this is our end of turn. So we, what? Okay, we drew Radiant Fountain. Let's catch up here. We drew Radiant Fountain, decided to play Evolving Wilds, and held open Negate. I guess it's okay if you really want to counter Triplicate Spirits, but I just would have cast Divination. You already have Rise of Eagles to at least deal with a couple of tokens. Triplicate Spirits is the worst possible thing that could have happened, which means he wouldn't be attacking. Like, people, this is rule number 1 with this deck a lot of the times. You need to play your card draw spells as early as possible, otherwise you will never get a chance to play them and never get their advantage. So like, holding open Negate here, gets better holding it open later in the game. On this turn, if he just does nothing, like he just time walked you, and you're not up 2 cards, which you should have been. So yeah, I definitely would have divinated and then cracked my Evolving Wilds. Again, hope to hit another land, so next turn you could 5th land, slam your Whirlwind Adept, which is fine. Like if he attacks into it, then block whatever. Like you're gonna be totally fine if you waste like a Trumpet Blast or a War Flare or something. You'll draw more gas. So he kind of is worried about his opponent casting Treasure Cruise, but like Treasure Cruise is not. You're not at that point in the game yet to be thinking about like card advantage. Like you're already up 2 cards from Divination, and he has no offense on his board right now. Yeah. So like this is like the hyper conservative line of like not affecting the board but being scared of what he could add to the board. So basically, if what if it happens if he goes for a Raise the Alarm at the end of turn here, which he does have, you have to counter, right? Now you're letting him resolve Triplicate Spirits, which is like the worst thing possible that you were playing around maybe in the beginning anyway. So you can follow up with Rise of Eagles, which is okay. But yeah, it turns out he does have Triplicate Spirits. So play land, have 6 mana, what do you do? Pretty sure you just slam Rise of Eagles. Again, it gets the 6th card in your graveyard. It lets you scry. Alright, let's pause here. You play the Rise of Eagles because if he attacks with everything, you're going to be trading basically 2 of his 1/1s for Triplicate Spirits and whatever pump spells, you're still going to take 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage, which you can't avoid, but you at least kill a couple of the flyers, which is really key. So Jeskai Sage also doesn't help you against War Flare at killing one of his guys, which is again kind of where I don't know what he's thinking. Like, I guess you're playing Jeskai Sage and holding open Griptide. It's just Griptide doesn't do enough. Divinating, like, you're at a spot where you're too far behind on board for this to be relevant, and you've set up this turn where you can't even Treasure Cruise for 1 mana. You can't represent any counter spells at all, and you're getting hit for 4 without him even doing anything relevant. You're just giving him a free good attack. He doesn't even have to play a pump spell if he doesn't want to, or if he doesn't have one. So that turn was just like the worst possible. So he has the War Flare. You get hit for 1 million. You don't kill any of his creatures. And again, who cares if you have your 5 cards, 6 cards up on him now, and you have 5 more cards in hand than him, but he's going to refuel right here, and you're just infinitely behind on board and at too low of a life total. So in my opinion, you needed to trade it with those 2 triplicate spirits instantly, and then this turn you'd be Treasure Cruising if you wanted to. So by Treasure Cruising first, again, your only play post Treasure Cruise is Island Rise of Eagles, and you're just dead still. So again, I would have been really happy earlier to not hold open that negate and just play a Whirlwind Adept as well, and hopefully at least again trade it off with a token. Who cares if we're trading? We have to be trading Whirlwind Adept plus half of his Raise the Alarm, but he also has to use a pump spell to do it. So again, just damage that we're absorbing. So I don't need this game's not even. What is he? I don't even know. It's just not even worth watching. His lines of play are so bad you have 0 chance to win the way he plays. So this game is just over. He has Lightning Strike, and Lightning Strike kills us. So yeah, you can't get that low of life. Alright, this is the part of the game that is insanely important. How would we sideboard against a token deck splashing for Treasure Cruise that shows War Flare and Triplicate Spirits? Okay, he does have some ground creatures, but we didn't see Dragon Fodder. We saw Raise the Alarm. So the 4 Coral Barriers are just instant snap in. They're very good. Voyage's End is not that good because it trades for a half to a third of a card. I don't like it. That's there for heroic decks, or decks that are really fast at pump spells like Titan Strength. Negate is insanely good. He has Triplicate Spirits, War Flare, Treasure Cruise, all relevant targets, Raise the Alarm. So you definitely bring in the 2 negates and the 4 Coral Barriers. Disdainful Stroke, also pretty good, but it only has, again, a few targets, not that many. I'd probably bring in at least 1 or 2. And CDC's Faithful, again, the blocker is nice, but we don't need that many resets. I do like sacking like a Jeskai Sage or a Coral Barrier token or something in order to bounce a flyer, so it creates a blocker and gets rid of a flyer, so it can be good. So I'd be considering bringing in maybe like 2 of them. So that would be like 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 9 cards. So which 9 cards are the worst? In this matchup, the nullifiers are pretty bad. We did see Sandstep Outcast, but other than that, like, that card's not like too potent. I would just cut Nullify. That's 4. Voyage's End is not the best. I'd probably cut that. That's 5. And then Griptide is absolutely awful. It's 4 mana Voyage's End. It's the worst. So I'd cut those 4, and that's 9 cards already. Let's look at what else we have in the deck that is just bad against them, that we have a couple of flex slots. We can get another Disdainful Stroke, another CDC's Faithful going if we wanted to. The 1/1s that block and can be still chump blockers or whatever, they're all fine. Anticipate's good. Divination's good. Nimbus Nide's good. Whisk Away, another very awful card. I would cut that. Cancel seems playable. And yeah, Whirlwind Adept, while he does have a lot of tokens, I'm fine maybe shaving one. I tend to shave one against aggressive decks because I don't want to get too clunky of a hand here, and want to be able to just get to the point where we can Nimbus Nide one, and it's how we win the game. If you take all of them out, you really limit your chances on ending the game in a reasonable time frame, and you just let them draw out of it. So yeah, against the aggressive decks, it's a basic card advantage rule. I don't know who I've listened to this from: Andrew Cuneo, Owen Turtenwald, Paulo Vitor Rosa, all these guys. Somebody amongst them has been saying, do not cut your card draw against aggressive decks. That is how you beat them. You just lower your curve, and then you draw a bunch of cards, and then they can't keep up. Okay, so I would maybe shave one Whirlwind Adept as well, so that lets us get maybe a second Disdainful Stroke, and maybe a third Sidisi's Faithful, something like that. Rise of Eagles is fantastic. It blocks Triplicate Spirits. It's a win con. It's a 2-for-1. Can't cut Rise of Eagles. Treasure Cruise is also never cuttable. Okay, so 1 Adept, 4 Griptide, it's 5. Whisk Away, 6. 4 Nullify is 10. Voyage's End is 11. So I have 11 cards that I'm not super happy with. Again, so that means I'll have to leave 4 in the sideboard, or I'll leave my 2 Voyage's Ends, and I'll leave 1 Sidisi's Faithful, 1 Disdainful Stroke. Okay? Bring in 4 Coral Barrier, 2 Negate, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 3 Sidisi's Faithful. Hope that was a decent sideboarding guide. Let's see what he does. He brings in Voyage's End. That's the first unadvisable thing. Again, Voyage's End is card disadvantage against the token deck. Brings in all 4 Sidisi's Faithfuls, and he doesn't give any consideration for Disdainful Stroke. Immediately cuts Whirlwind Adept, so he basically concedes that we can't really kill them ever now. Don't know how he plans on actually winning the game. He figures out that Nullify is bad. That's good. Still looking for 4 cards. Divination as a 2 of. Cancel. It still needs 1 more, and a Rise of Eagles. Put the cancel back in. Looking at Griptide. Cancel. You just can't be in the right mind and realize that you're playing against tokens and leaving Griptides and take out cancels when cancel deals with Triplicate Spirits. Griptide does close to nothing. Alright, so basically his sideboarding is really just chinked himself in the armor. He's basically stabbed himself already. It's kind of like Gladiator when he does the last fight with Maximus versus whatever his name is, Perseus, and he just stabs him right in the kidney before they go out to fight, so it's not a fair fight. So Dan makes comments like, oh, this is such a horrible matchup, in the middle of this match. Yeah, it's actually not. You just gotta sideboard better. So his hand's perfectly keepable. Again, he complains that Evolving Wilds is so bad in this deck because of this situation that he gets put in here. What are you talking about? This is a perfect situation for Evolving Wilds. It's making your Treasure Cruise cost 2 less. It's thinning your deck of lands so that you're going to draw more action. And you got Radiant Fountain on turn 2, and then Evolving Wilds on turn 3. 2-drop on turn 2, 2-drop on turn 3, which you already have in hand. It's totally perfectly reasonable. So slam the Sage. Again, who cares that you're missing out on turn 3 Divination? Whatever. Ornithopter, that card is awful. basically signifies that he might have the retraction helix combo, but that really shouldn't be a problem if we have enough interaction with our counter spells. And again, if we had a way to kill him, it might be good too, but so the only play here is basically play the Sage. I guess you can attack, try to get 1 point in. I would do that. I would not have played my Evolving Wilds first. Again, you want to give your opponent less information when it's their turn to block. Again, you might as well Evolving Wilds now on your turn. If you played something like Scouring Sands or whatever, you don't really want to be drawing more lands here. I got Evolving Wilds right now, but now he does not, so he has more of a chance of hitting a land, which again I figure we'll hit eventually with this Divination. So we do draw Evolving Wilds, okay. So again, there's only one play this turn. It's Divination, Evolving Wilds. I would probably, again, crack the Evolving Wilds first. I would play the Divination before attacking so that I could get in for 2 damage. Again, the fact that he doesn't crack these Evolving Wilds first is kind of confusing to me. Kind of like saying that he really wants to hit lands. So look, we definitely have the ability to Treasure Cruise next turn. You know, if this Griptide in these Voyages ends were anything like, I don't know, like Whirlwind Adepts or Rise of Eagles or Cancel, we would obviously be in a good spot. But right now we're just kind of like, we're ahead by 6 cards already. You know, 3 Evolving Wilds, I guess, is really, we're only ahead by 3. But drawing another Treasure Cruise, and he has 4 mana open. Could be Raise the Alarm, could be a counter spell. So we do have the negate, so I wouldn't run Treasure Cruise out quite yet. I would just pass the turn. It's fine, because if he had a counter, he could counter our cruise. I would definitely be looking to Griptide his 0/2 though. It just denies him a draw step. Because otherwise, we're never casting this Griptide, you know? I would have even considered main phasing Griptide on his 0/2 next turn, or last turn, so we could have, you know, attacked for 2 and basically gotten to the point where, you know, we just time walked him. But he goes for the negate on Tormenting Voice here, which I don't hate. Our opponent basically has no gas. And we're just up so many cards by countering that. So again, we really wanted to hit a land there, but it's fine. We can Treasure Cruise with negate back up, since we, or actually we don't, because we use the negate. So yeah, I don't really like this against, I guess he only has 1 card in hand. Negate or Disdainful Stroke would have to be it. So yeah, play Radiant Fountain, play Coral Barrier, and it's fine. So you can kind of see how this Jeskai Sage is doing work. If it ever dies, it'll give us value. If not, you know, it's better than Omen Speaker because it can actually attack for 2. Alright, so our opponent draws Flurry of Horns for the turn and decides to not attack. So, pretty easy play, I guess, I would just Voyage the Zen, both of the 2/3s. Jeskai Sage I'd put on top, I like it. I would just Voyage the Zen the other 2/3. Actually, no, I would Griptide the 0/2. It's more mana efficient, and we already have the Scry to top, so we're losing the value of the Scry. I guess yeah, I like this play. Invite him to block with his 2/3. That's perfect. Now I would Griptide the 0/2. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I like that. That was perfect. So we get to kill his guy, time walk him, he plays a 0-2. You know, we get to treasure cruise. Basically at a spot where we can't possibly lose. So you see how good, like, I guess this is awkward. Griptide was good in this game only because he's playing this completely irrelevant Ornithopter, which he should just not be playing. It enables his triplicate spirits, I guess, but other than that, like, I haven't seen the retraction helix. It seems like a complete waste of a card. So yeah, I would just play the Jeskai Sage. Just run it out there, just end this game already, you know. It's kind of absurd that we're winning this easily, and the only creatures that we have attacked with are Squid and Sage. But again, that's kind of how the deck goes. Kind of how it goes. So literally doesn't matter what we take. Yep, he just scoops. So sideboarding, game 3. You've seen a little bit more cards. Any changes? Yeah, we don't need 4 Sidisi's Faithful. He has flyers, right? So they don't block that well. I'd definitely cut one. At least he puts the cancel back in. But the rest of his sideboard is still really awful. Alright, let's look at this opening hand. 1 land, 2 lands. Rise, Double Voyages, and Griptide. Again, cards that shouldn't even be in the deck. They are so bad. Alright. So this hand is, again, if these were like, you know, Disdainful Strokes or Negates, it'd be a little bit better. It's still not the best hand. This Griptide should be literal anything else. So I don't fault him for mulliganing it. This hand is perfectly reasonable. We get to play Coral Barrier to stop his early offense, and then we get to play Divination to start to try to catch up. Again, should have 4 Divination in. Island, worst draw. Radiant Fountain, the second worst draw. Impact Tremors on turn 2. That's a really problematic card for us because we cannot deal with it. So we're going to be taking a lot of damage, especially if he has a bunch of token creatures that are going to resolve because we don't have counter spells. We have bounce spells, which is just another thing that we couldn't have necessarily predicted because we didn't see the Impact Tremors. But in general, just again, the counter spells are just going to be way better than the bounce spells. So he hits us for 2. But he really can't get past our Coral Barrier, which is just like the straight nut against these dumb token decks. Alright, he plays Lightning Strike, forces us to block. Alright, so that's our 1.5 for a half. So far we got there. Not the best draw here. He does have the Dragon Fodder. So again, really would be nice to draw some blockers here and be able to hold open Negate. We draw Nimbus Naiad, so not a bad draw since it can block, force him to use a pump spell or some sort of removal spell. And we still have Negate open. It's like we want to use Negate, but we don't need to because we could just Treasure Cruise even without negating this turn. But I'm not really a big fan of negating this Raise the Alarm here. Yeah, so he's got the collateral damage. Yeah, we're trading resources really well, we're just not drawing very well. So best case scenario, again, is we land like, you know, Sidisi's Faithful or Jeskai Sage this turn. Faithful. Alright, this is a quite easy play. It's only got 2 in hand. I guess you can leave a negate open. And just take 2. So here comes the easy play. Double negate, so that's even better. Alright, what did you do with Sidisi's Faithful? To me, it's easily Kraken Hatchling. Just, you know, make it an 0-4. I would love to hear why there is any other reason to do anything else here. Yeah. That's just really bad play. You just opened yourself up to collateral damage, which, that was bad. I didn't even think about that as a reason why the play was bad. So you gave him value for that card. But what's the problem with just like leaving it in play? Like you're not scared of Triplicate Spirits. He would have 6 mana with the Convoke, but then you would just negate it. And you're totally fine. You would take the same 1 damage, and you would just block the other one. And if he wants to kill it, you'd have to Lightning Strike it, or, you know, collateral damage it, post-combat, or whatever. But it's just the same. This is also another really interesting play. You have no way of dealing with Impact Tremors other than negating it. I guarantee, I just snap negate this card right here. The opponent has no gas. He's top decking. So basically what you're allowing him to do by letting that resolve is say, you know, just he's going to eventually just draw Dragon Fodder, Raise the Alarm, you know, Treasure Cruise. He's gonna make our negates just get flooded here. We can block all day, but we can't counter everything, especially look at the way you sideboarded. Like, you have tons of bad bounce spells. So, like, letting Impact Tremors resolve when your deck isn't full of counter spells is just really, really risky. Yeah, because without the Disdainful Strokes in, which I think having all 3 in might be right, might even be better than the just 2 Sidisi's Faithful is probably better because he has Treasure Cruise, Warflare, Triplicate Spirits. You know, don't strain the negates. Use the negates on the Lightning Strikes and the you know, Raise the Alarms in the early game, and then save the Disdainful Strokes for these, you know, Haymaker cards, right? So we're drawing our negates, and we get the Treasure Cruise here for a lot. But again, if you can, yeah, I was gonna say, start the beatdown, yeah, and you have no win cons in the deck. You're down. You have 2 Rise of Eagles to draw and 39 cards to try to end this game. Whereas Whirlwind Adept is just game over. Like, you're gonna kill him in like, you know, 4 or 5 turns. Without him, you can't kill him at all. So if you draw too many lands, like, and you don't draw enough divinations, what's going to happen? So again, you're in an awkward spot. Lightning strikes you down to 4, and then you're dead to any creature. Like, he plays like Sandstep Outcast, and you're just dead. So using like your negate, ugh, not that good. Again, you just drew like the 3 worst possible spells in your deck. Just imagine, you know, any other spells. Just literal any other ones. So what's he going for? He's going for Triple Spirits, alright. Got a negate. It's 6 damage if we don't. And then we can't Griptide Voyages end them, so. Yeah, you stop on your own turn, so you can Voyages End on your upkeep to control your draw step. I like that play. Even if it is the most mediocre play in this matchup you could possibly have. Jeskai Sage on top, I guess you have to leave it on top because it's your only way to win the game is to attack with 1/1s, which is like the worst plan ever. Now we have a grip tide and we're dead to like anything. He plays a land and nothing. We draw land and then have nothing. Yeah, so I definitely would have put Jeskai Sage on bottom. It's just not going to win the game for us. We need to hit Treasure Cruise or Rise of Eagles. That's like the only outs you're really like playing to actually win this game before he just like plays any creature and kills us with Impact Tremors. So, yep, we're mounting an offense. It just can't kill him very fast. Anticipate is a very good draw for him. Just going to let him find something spicy. Finds another Anticipate. Okay. Scouring Sands, that's pretty brutal. So this is an interesting play here. We can Grip Tide to prowess our 2/2 to keep it alive, but we can't keep our 1/1s alive. I mean, we could Grip Tide, The problem is that you have to redraw the card, which is pretty bad, and we really just want to draw more gas. The problem is we have no clock. Basically, this Scouring Sands is perfect against us because we just have no clock, no matter what we do. At least for the following turn, so he just lets it resolve to try to draw the card, which is totally fine. Again, brick, just hit a land. Treasure Cruise, perfect. So just cruise, see what we hit. If there were good cards in the deck, we'd probably be okay. Lightning Strike, oop, that's brutal. He's burning us out. So his sideboard plan was just kind of, to burn us out. So we gotta anticipate main phase. You already play a land. I would definitely anticipate main phase, because then you could draw Rise of Eagles and play it. You don't have a counterspell anyway. Okay, that's just not really excusable. Okay, so now I guess it's fine. You would have just lost anyway if you would have found Rise of Eagles and then played it. But the fact that we're in this spot to begin with is just the worst. So yeah. Well, you could have main phase anticipated, had 2 in the bin, Treasure Cruise with 6 mana. I guess you would have lost anyway. Again, the cards in our deck were just not good enough. So we take 4, then we're dead. How are we not dead? What is going on here? Why did he not make a flyer? Oh, lag goofed me. Alright, so we're somehow given the Miracles fighting chance. Well, Grip Tide is pretty bad against Impact Tremors, since you just take more damages. We couldn't hit more Radiant Fountains, which was a little rough. There's not a chance you play Evolving Wilds right there, since Radiant Fountain is one of your only outs. And you're actually putting cards that you know were bad on the bottom. You put Anticipate on the bottom. Again, you guys were trying to say that Evolving Wilds has no value. Evolving Wilds can reset cards that got put on bottom from Anticipate, which can be good sometimes. But he had the negate anyway. Again, so basically, our opponent never drew an extra card this whole game. The whole game. And somehow we still can't win. We're up 12 cards on him. But our deck is just full of bad cards. And no ways to win the game. Like, this is turn 17. The opponent should have been dead like light years ago. So yeah, we lose. Flurry game. Okay. Okay, so this is just one example, one matchup. He kind of talks about the deck a little bit. It's one of those things where I can give you very specific sideboarding advice, very specific gameplay advice by doing a little replay analysis like this, which I really like. Hopefully, I come off as more constructive than mean. I'm not trying to be mean. But this deck is, again, first time playing this deck, and I haven't even been playing it that long. I've only been playing it for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and really I've only played in the 2 tournaments with it. I haven't played very many outside games practicing with it. So overall, just hopefully take some of my advice, maybe test out version 3. Version 3 is where I'm going next. Just to change it up, I'm going to cut. He did get a little flooded that game too. So I'm going to change it up and go the, third anticipate 23 lands, just another thing to mix it up here. But again, I think this deck is very good, and it's just not the easiest autopilot style deck. But go to thedraftbrewery.wordpress.com, check out my replay of the tournament, and feel free to ask any questions. I'm be happy to answer questions in the comments and whatnot. And thanks again to Dan, FanOfHistory, Brennan and Cyrulean and Sam, for all those guys for doing the Magic podcast. I like that they get some discussion going on these decks and stuff. And I always invite them, if you guys want, Skype me in. I'd be glad to help try to break down the analysis a lot, because some of these things seem kind of confusing and the card choices are a little off, unless you know what I'm trying to prepare for. Alright, so hopefully I make, a modicum of sense here, and appreciate you guys watching. Alright, take care.